Hello and welcome to Michigan Tech's Admitted Student Chat. Today's really casual. We would like to answer whatever questions that you might have before you come up here to campus. My name is Chrissy Grotsky and I'm one of the Regional Admissions Manager, and with me today are two current students.
My name is Angie Rubeck. I'm just finished up my first year studying electrical engineering and I'm from Crystal Lake, Illinois.
I'm Cora Hemela. I'm going into my third year studying geological engineering and a minor in mining. And to get us started off today, I have number 10 about the things that we wish we knew before coming to Tech. Is don't be afraid to get to know people. When you come up for orientation week, get to know those people and get to know the people in your classes. So they're great resources for studying, they're great resources for, just hanging out. You're bound to find people who have similar interests to you in those groups. So.
And with orientation week, they grouped us together by major, so I already learned a lot of kids that were in my major, electrical engineering. And then one of the girls who I met at orientation week, she's going to be my roommate next semester, so that was just a really awesome place to meet new kids, definitely. And so number 9 on our list, I have Barkboard, and that's a website you can go to. It's barkboard.mtu.edu. And it's really just kind of, people can sell stuff online or they'll post ride information, but it's just a really nice resource to check because furniture and everything will be on there. There's just a bunch of random stuff that people are selling and other kind of discussions going on there, but that's a really nice resource to check just anytime before you come up here during the school year.
Now when you go to Barkboard, you'll have to log in using the same password and the same username that you use to get into your My Michigan Tech account. So you'll make sure to have that handy.
Alright, so for number 8 then, we have even if you breeze through high school, you have to study in college. It's really easy to think that, oh, it's okay, high school I would study for half an hour before a test and I would get an A. It's completely different in college. You need to spend more time on your classes. And to help out with that, we have learning centers where there's student coaches who are there to help you out with any homework you might need help with. And all of the professors are really, really welcoming. They love to have people come in for office hours. I've had many professors just say, oh, drop by. If you see me around campus, feel free to ask questions. So it's easy to get the help you need. You just need to actually try for it.
And then next on our list, number 7, it's kind of basing off that, is that professors, they don't review the readings. So you'll have just kind of a paper you get at the start of the semester, and this is kind of all the readings we're going to be doing, and all the homework we'll have, and then they don't really talk about that again. So you got to make sure you're really on top of that, because sometimes they'll just have a pop quiz or something on the reading, so it's just important to stay ahead and kind of keep track, definitely what you have going on in all your classes.
Now as we continue on with the countdown, if there are any questions that you have, make sure to put them in the chat field and we can answer them as we go along. So number 6.
Alright, so number 6, it's okay to take a class or two that isn't necessarily required for your major if it's something you're interested in. I decided to take a materials handling class because it sounded fun, and that's how I ended up adding my minor in mining. I learned that it's something I really enjoy, and so it's been a lot of fun. Similar to that, you could take an art class, a music class, just anything that you enjoy. You don't have to always be so focused on just your major.
Oh, and number 5 on our list, a pretty important one is sleep. In high school you don't really need too much sleep in the morning. Everyone's always kind of groggy. But in college you're going to be really stressed out. You'll have so much to keep track of and just all your activities going on. And I think the easiest way to adjust to college life is getting enough sleep. Because when I noticed nights where I didn't get enough sleep, I would be kind of dozing off in my class or just feel really stressed out. But when I did get enough sleep, it was just easy for me to do well in classes and pay attention, which is just one of the easiest way to do well in your class is still paying attention in class. So just make sure you get enough sleep at times. I had kind of an enforced bedtime during the school year. My hallmates kind of joked about it, but I was definitely one of the people trying to get to sleep on time.
It's easy once you go off to college, you're not at home anymore, so your parents aren't telling you, you should be in bed by now, it's midnight. So it's, it can be easy to get off schedule and be staying up much later than you should be, but yeah, Angie's right, you definitely need the sleep. Alright, so similar to that, there's only so much time in a given day. Feel free to say no to people when they ask if you want to join this intramural sport, if you want to join this club. There are so many things to do up here that it can get really overwhelming, particularly in the first week. You're learning about everything, you're really excited about everything. And of course you should join some things because you're at college to experience new things and to learn new things, but you do have to say no to a couple of things because that sleep is really important.
So before we get to the top 3, there's going to be a little break here. We did have our first question, and that is, how is the ROTC program here at Michigan Tech? So are either of you guys in ROTC?
Ooh, I actually
Okay,
am.
awesome.
I'm a part of Air Force ROTC. We do have Army and Air Force ROTC on campus. Air Force about 90 or so students, and then Army is about another 70. It's a little bit smaller. Did they say which one they were interested in, or just in general?
No, if you want to type in, we can be more elaborate if you want to give us some more information.
I mean, I know a little bit about both of them. Both of them, you have a once a week class that it'll be in your schedule and you have to go to, and then there's associated leadership lab. That's about 2 hours you go to. Oh, Air Force, ooh, nice. Because that's what I am, so I'm a little bit biased towards that. So you'll have your once weekly class, and then that once a week lab. And then we have, Air Force has physical training 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday in the morning. So that'll be about 6:30 in the morning. But Air Force is a lot of fun, definitely. And there's no real commitment your first year. If you're just interested in it at all, definitely come out and join it. It's not too big of a time commitment either, your first year especially. So it's definitely a lot of fun. I recommend it.
Okay, great. So you guys ready for the top 3? All right, number 3.
All right, me. Make sure you bring the right clothes. You may have heard we get a little bit of snow here, so you're gonna want to have some clothes that can go out in the snow. But also, for the short time that it is warmer here, the residence halls, they aren't air conditioned, so you'll probably want a fan because it'll be a little bit hot, in September when you're first coming down. But after that, you don't really need it anymore. You'll have that natural air conditioning outside. But the other thing you want is different size coats, I guess, because before it starts snowing, it's just get kind of chillier, and then when it's snowing, you actually want that big heavy coat. But I definitely recommend during Winter Carnival, when we build our snow statues, is you have waterproof stuff. I worked a long time on our snow statue, dedicated a lot of time to it, but my job was to kind of spray the snow with water, then stomp it all down. So I ended up, by the end of the night, I would be covered in water, and then my gloves were solid chunks of ice. Everything was just super icy. But it's definitely a lot of fun, but make sure you have the proper, clothes to go out and enjoy the snow. Definitely.
It's easy to say oh, I'm just gonna bring up my heavy winter coat when I go for Thanksgiving break, but you might want to bring it up a little earlier than that.
Mm-hmm. Bring up your winter stuff a little bit early.
So Kristen has a great question. What method works best for you in trying to keep all of your classes organized and to stay on top of things?
Well, I like to have all of my homework written down in a planner. It helps me a lot because you get a lot of assignments that, as Angie mentioned earlier, professors might mention and then they won't say anything about them again until they're due. So if you have them written down in your planner when they're first assigned, you can look at it later and be like, oh, that's right, I have to write this report for next week. So you're not getting behind on things. And then along with that, I usually have binders for every class so that you get all your handouts together, you got the syllabus, and just keeping everything really organized and separated is how I usually go about
That's
it.
another good one. Definitely keeping organized and keeping that kind of course outline and the schedule right in front of your notebook so I have it. But then another thing, I don't use just a pen and paper planner. I do it all online. They have Canvas, so a lot of teachers will use that and have their courses online. And there's a calendar on Canvas, and it'll kind of have all your homework on there, and then you can add on more homework onto your calendar. So I'm always checking that Canvas calendar to see what I have going on. But then definitely my number one tip, just being a successful student, is starting your homework early. Because when you start it early, you can understand oh, I have no idea what I'm doing, I need to go get some help. And then that's when you can go in, talk to your professor, go to a learning center. There's so many resources where you can get help and do that homework early. I know sometimes where I would just save it till the night before, and then I realized I didn't really know what I was doing, and then I just kind of turned in like a half-effort homework when if I had just started it early, I could have had some assistant and then done really well on my homework. So definitely just start it early, and then you understand if you need more help with something, and you have that time to go out and get that help.
Andrew also had a great question that we'll jump in here too. So how much free time do you guys have on average each week?
Well, it varies by week, obviously. As it gets closer to finals week, it starts getting a little slimmer. But I would say on an average week, I have a decent amount of time. I don't know an hour count. But I see you mentioned working out and skiing. I go skiing every weekend pretty much. So I never had a problem with that. You go for a couple hours in the morning and, you got maybe an hour or two on homework in the afternoon, and it's a pretty relaxing day overall.
Right, yeah. All my classes, I had some morning classes, so I would pretty much be done with actual classes like noon or 1 or 2 o'clock. And then pretty much the rest of my evenings were free except for whatever clubs I wanted to do. So I was involved with just like Alpha Society. It's just like a little social service club. That would only be, a 1-hour meeting, bi-weekly meeting, so that wasn't too bad. But I really had a lot of free time in the evenings and afternoon, definitely, and my weekends especially were really free, so I went over to the ski hill a couple times. I had never been skiing or snowboarding before I came up here. I used to skateboard, so I was like, snowboarding's the same thing, right? It'll be really easy. I feel like, for me, Mount Ripley was plenty steep, and I definitely enjoyed it. I think I hurt myself most getting on and off the chairlifts, though. But you can just go out there.
It takes a little, time to
right,
get used to.
Definitely. I think next winter I'm going to try skiing instead. But you definitely have tons of free time to go out and do whatever you want to. So.
All right, so we're ready for number 2. If you have other questions, feel free to jump in.
All right, my number 2 tip, you don't feel like you have to hang out with all the same kids from high school or just the same group of people that you met your first week here. I know a lot of kids, they'll come up with all their friends from high school, and then it's like they only stay in that one little circle. And it's like you can branch out to everybody. It's a lot different than high school where there's not so much cliques and everything. Like you just meet tons of different people in all your classes and everything. So just feel free to go out and hang out with all different sorts of people. You don't have to associate yourself with only one type of person. And it's really good to associate with all the other kinds of people too, because you learn about a lot of different kids. It's nice about this college, you get a mix of everybody from like small cities, and they're really, kind of into hunting and all the outdoorsy stuff, but then you get the big city kids, and it's just an awesome way to like meet a variety of people.
Mm-hmm. Plus we have clubs that are on such a broad spectrum, from rock climbing to microbiology. So really, it is definitely helpful to expand your group. And that kind of ties into our number 1 here, which is be yourself, because it pays off. Along with what Angie said, you just, do what you enjoy while you're at college, because a lot of the people you meet here probably are going to be lifelong friends, because when you're up here, maybe you're breaking away from, how you saw yourself or how others saw you in high school, and you're really just free to be who you are and enjoy yourself. So if you're really into band or, some sort of academic thing, you can feel free to join one of those, and, you're really free to do what you want, and in the long run, why not be yourself, because that's when you're going to enjoy yourself the most.
Mm.
Rebecca was wondering how you were talking about clubs. How do you join clubs in different organizations here at Tech?
Well, during the beginning of the school year, we have K-Day or Keweenaw Day, and that's where all of the students go up to McLean State Park right on Lake Superior, and we get shuttles that go up there, and a lot of different clubs and organizations will set out booths, and they'll kind of teach you about what their group does, and that's a really good way to get involved with clubs. Other than that, there are a lot of times clubs will send out emails, or you'll hear about events they're putting on campus, and basically if you hear someone's in a group that you're interested in and you talk to them about it, that's how you sign up. It's usually really informal, and it's, people are just there to have fun. So.
Mm-hmm. And then all the clubs are kind of listed online. Don't know the specific web address, but involvement link. You can check that out, and it shows pretty much every single club at Michigan Tech. And it'll show you like members, so you can either email and get kind of started early talking to those clubs, or actually in all of our dining halls, each club or anybody who wants to really can put out what are called table tents, and it's just kind of like a folded piece of paper, but there'll be a ton of little pieces of paper on the table, and so any club they'll always put new stuff out and showing things that are happening on campus right now, or just clubs and when they're meeting. So that's another good, really easy way, during breakfast, you're like, oh, this looks interesting, and you can join that club really easily.
Or the bulletin boards outside of lecture halls. A lot of times you'll see, like fishing club I see posts for a lot. They'll be like, oh, we're meeting in this room at this time, just show up. So yeah, it's easy to get involved.
These are really great questions. Feel free to, we have a few more, but feel free to go through if you do have any and post them. The next one is, how is the food on campus? Are there options for vegetarians?
I enjoyed the food actually a lot on campus. I lived in the residence halls for 2 years, and there's a really wide variety of what is served for any given meal. So there are vegetarian options. There's always a really, really big salad bar, which is delicious, and even if you're not vegetarian, it's great. As well as a lot of the meals are also, there will be a meat option as well as a vegetarian option.
Yep, they actually post their menu online, and they're always serving, different main hot menus, but then they have like the sandwich bar, salad bar, dessert bar, kind of cereal that's always there. And yeah, I lived in Wadsworth first year, and I'm also living there next year, and I really enjoyed it. It was good food. There was enough variety that I didn't really get sick of it. Like, I still liked having all the food right there. And something else that's kind of cool that the residence halls do, they'll hold like special dinners. Like, they had a big fancy Thanksgiving dinner, and then the whole kind of like spring like fish cookout dinners. They have like kind of themed dinners every now and then, and those are just kind of fun, nice things to mix it up even more.
Okay. Corey has a question. Do I need a car or bike to get around town, or is everything generally within walking distance?
I'd say for the most part, especially campus itself, everything is within walking distance easily. A lot of people like to have bikes because you can get around campus in, just a matter of a minute or two then. Downtown is definitely within walking or biking distance. I'd say places like Walmart they're a bit further away. You wouldn't really want to walk there. But if you don't have a car, you can find people in your residence halls and just people in your classes who do have vehicles, and it's really easy to get rides around if you need it.
Right, you'll find like one person, and then you'll all go as a big group, carpool. It's like, hey, you guys want to go to Walmart right now? So, but the Walmart's not too far away. Some more adventurous kids will bike to Walmart, but you might want a car, just to hit there. But definitely downtown Houghton and campus especially. I didn't have a bike or a car on campus my first year, and that was fine. I never really needed it because everything was really close.
And there is a bus service through Houghton as well, so you can definitely take advantage of that. We also have a question about Pavlis. Are either of you guys in Pavlis? Okay, I can talk a little bit more about that. Pavlis Institute, I think, is a really cool program because you're actually working on a project for 3 years, so your freshman, sophomore, junior year, that is actually going to be taken somewhere to a third world country that you're, some town that you're working with. We've worked with places in Africa and Central South America, and you're solving a problem that they have. So it's really cool because during between your junior and senior year, you actually get to go bring it there and show them like how to use it and meet the people that you've been helping. And so it's really quite a cool program. It's a great resume builder because you're working with a group of students and it's almost like your own little design team. So you're really getting some great experience as far as that's concerned. So if you have the opportunity, it's definitely, one of our student workers was in Pavlis, and she is no longer, she's actually out in the working world down in Chicago. But she came back raving from it and just about the experiences she had and how much it helped her when she was going into the workforce and being able to talk about this project that she had worked on and built from the ground up. So it's really quite a cool program. So I hope that answered your question. If you have others, let me know. And then we have another one from Ivana. So Ivana, you're a transfer student, and you guys both were incoming first years, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, so the transfer student process is definitely streamlined here at Michigan Tech. You'll find that we actually have quite a few transfer students, so you're going to be far from alone. And there is a small orientation that's optional. I do encourage you to go to that because it's going to be an opportunity for you to meet other students. You really will have great support. Academically, you're going to have an academic advisor who's going to help you with the process, looking at the classes that you've already taken and how they match up here at Michigan Tech and what you still need to do to graduate and as efficiently as possible. And the nice thing about Michigan Tech with student organizations and things like that, our students, join lots of different clubs and organizations, and they don't do it all their first year. They might join a new club or organization their second year, their third year. So you're not, just because you're joining in maybe after what's technically your second year or third year, it's going to be fine. You're going to have lots of options to get involved, to do research, to be part of our student organization. So you will not be alone. There are quite a few transfer students on our campus. So. We have another question. How easy is it to find a part-time job on campus?
Well, I'd say it's pretty darn easy. I've had a part-time job every semester, sometimes multiple on campus, and you can really work in a variety of places. I worked from machine shops to admissions. I know people work in food service. You can work in labs. There's really pretty much anywhere you would want to work, you can do it on campus. At the beginning of the year, they'll post jobs online, and actually throughout the year too as positions become open. But online you'll see postings for available positions, and you can upload your resume and you can apply for those, and then that's how you usually get into those positions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last semester I actually worked as technically a German kind of student consultant, so kids could come in if they had any German questions. So there's plenty of tutoring jobs on campus, definitely. And I wasn't even a part of work study, and I could still be a part of that.
There was also another question about off-campus jobs as well. We actually have a place on our career services website that anywhere off-campus can post job postings. So if there is a position open in town, they can publicize it there. So that's a great place to look if you're looking for an off-campus job as well. We did have a question about housing. Someone who's on the wait list for DHH. Definitely contact housing. They can tell you what the next steps are. If for some reason you don't get in DHH, you'll probably get a spot at McNair, most likely.
Which is a great hall.
Yeah. So, if you're not getting your first choice, that's fine. I think all of our residence halls are quite nice. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So you're definitely going to have some options. So if you are on a waiting list for your first option, don't worry. We do have plenty of housing here on campus, and we'll make sure that we have somewhere for you to stay. So you don't have to worry about trying to find something off campus. But definitely contact housing about that. Okay. What did you guys forget to pack your first year?
That's a good question. I forgot a fan. The orientation week, because it's at the end of summer, very, very beginning of fall, it is still pretty warm up here. A lot of sunshine and, kind of toasty weather, and a fan definitely would have been nice to have in my residence hall room.
Right. I had a little 8-inch circle fan or so, and that was good for just right on my face, but didn't really do much to cool down my room. So yeah, fan too. But almost, not that I didn't forget to pack too much or pack anything, I would say that I packed way too much stuff. I just had way too many clothes I never even ended up wearing. So I don't know if it's as much guys would have that problem, but I know a lot of girls up here had way too many clothes and just too much stuff. So you don't have to, you're not moving away from home forever. So definitely don't feel like you need to bring absolutely everything up here.
Yeah, or Parents' Weekend and even Thanksgiving break are pretty close to the beginning of the school year. So if you realize that, oh no, I really needed these dresses or something odd that you didn't pack, you can always bring it up later. I would say there's kind of a lot of people who will bring too much. I was one of them too, too much first year. Just think about what you use in daily life. And
although I did think of something nice kind of career business clothes. That's definitely something you want to make sure you bring along. And then going to the career fairs, because there's one in the fall and one in the spring. So that's when you want some nicer dress up clothes, especially presentations or just anything. that was one thing I did kind of forget, so.
Definitely good to have like a pair of khakis or black pants with you and a nicer shirt.
Okay, Daniesh, if you're a graduate student and are looking for a waiting list for Daniel Heights, you'll just need to contact housing and they can tell you kind of what the next steps are. Corey, you're asking what resources are available to help students with difficult classes.
So there's a lot of resources available. I would say the biggest one would be the learning centers. We have learning centers for pretty much every subject on campus. So there's the math learning center, physics, biology, etc. And in there are student coaches who are there to help you out with these classes that you might have trouble in. And then, like we said, to always go to professors or other students who have already taken the classes or who are taking them with you. I know in a lot of classes it's really nice to get together with students in your residence hall that are in the same classes as you. You can kind of talk about the homework or study together, and it's a really good resource.
Right, yeah, Learning Center I think are the biggest ones because the students in there, they know what they're talking about, and I mean it's all free for you, so you're the one who has to initiate actually going into the Learning Center and getting that help that you need.
Now, if you know that you're coming in with possibly a learning disorder or something that you've had accommodations for in high school, you want to make sure to talk with our student services and make sure that you have a plan in action. So if you need extra time on tests, and that's what you've typically had in high school, the difference between high school and college is that you need to let us know that that is what you need so that we can create a plan with you. And also talk to your professors and things like that too. We do have formal tutoring programs and things if you know you're going to have a class that you're going to struggle in, so that's definitely an option as well. So, ladies, what's reasonable as far as the amount of clothes to bring to campus? What will fit?
Yeah, I would say that when you're packing, go through, and it's really tempting to be, go through your closet and say, well, I have all of these clothes now, I need all of them at college. You don't. Think about what you actually wear in a given day or a given week or a given month, and you might realize that, okay, well, these 20 shirts I haven't worn in 5 years, or I've worn them once to bed. You don't need an excessive number. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
We do have laundry here, so
Yeah.
that's so you don't have to figure out how many outfits you're going to need before the next time you're going home. But the truth is that you will have a chest of drawers and either a wardrobe or a closet. So there's going to be places to hang things if you wanted to bring a nicer dress for an occasion or a suit. But space is limited in that regard. So maybe think about the seasons and what you might need coming up. Are there on-campus internships throughout the summer for most majors or with some professors? Have any of you guys done summer internships or research?
I did internships, but not on campus.
Okay. We have a summer undergraduate research fellowship program, which is one opportunity here on campus to do research on campus. We do have some opportunities as well for some different summer jobs here too. The summer undergraduate research fellowship you need to apply to, and you need to have a research project that either you have thought of or maybe in conjunction with something that one of the professors is already working on. And so there is, like I said, a structured application process for that. We do have about 350 companies that come to campus each year as well that interview our students for internships, co-ops, where you're actually taking a semester off school in the summer, so it's a little bit longer, as well as opportunities for permanent job placement once you get to your senior year.
And I would say with the on campus with professors, a lot of professors do have research available in pretty much every department. So you can go through and talk to these professors that you're interested, like if they're doing work that you're interested in, just talk to them and ask if there are positions available, because even first semester you can get involved with these.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your internship?
Sure. So after my first year of school, I had an internship. It was half a mile underground in a high-energy particle physics laboratory. So It was a little bit different from what my actual major is because it was working on these physics experiments, but I got to be underground and it was really interesting. So internships are great. You get to learn a lot of different things. I learned a whole lot about neutrinos and all these crazy physics things that I won't go into right now. But yeah, all you gotta do is you just gotta talk to companies, and especially the career fair is a really useful time to get in touch with these companies and the representatives from them.
Did you guys know your roommate before you came to Michigan Tech, and how's it getting along with a new roommate if you had a new roommate that you didn't know before you came here?
I talked to my roommate. We didn't actually know each other. We met from the housing survey that they send out to you guys. So actually it was the day before the deadline when you had to request a roommate, and we just happened to notice, oh hey, we have similar music interests, so do you want to be roommates? So we kind of just did it on a whim, and it ended up working out really, really well. We've lived together for 2 years, and now we're gonna live together again now for a third year. So I haven't really heard any bad stories about meeting new people. It's usually really exciting to get to know, who you're gonna be living with.
Mm-hmm. And then definitely there's that online kind of roommate matching thing where you fill out a profile and you can figure out what other people are interested and find a roommate that way. I didn't use that. I just kind of got put with a roommate. It was because I lived in, it was kind of the first ROTC, like first year ROTC students. So there are like learning communities where they'll group kids together based off, their major or just other interests they have. So my roommate was kind of given to me. I talked to her a little bit on Facebook, just like, oh, what are you bringing up? But that was it. So it was kind of a complete stranger. But I mean, it was fine. We were good roommates, but I didn't say we were the most like socially best friends ever. So we didn't hang out like socially all the time. But we were definitely really good roommates. And I think just be really respectful of your roommate's study time, like sleeping time, and then don't be really passive aggressive with your roommate. Like if something's bothering you, just tell your roommate. I mean, you don't have to be best friends ever with your roommate, so don't think like you have to become best friends with them, but just definitely be respectful of them. But also just a tip for living in the residence halls, bring earplugs and like an eye cover. That's what I did because my roommate, she was very much a study in the middle of the night person, where I was a sleep all night. So just definitely having those earplugs, but those will just help you, kids, or if they're noisy outside. So you can be a little bit deep sleep, I guess, if you have those items. But number one is just be respectful to that roommate, and don't worry if they're a stranger. You'll get along because everyone's kind of like strangers when they come up here. So.
And it really helps too. You mentioned talking on Facebook. It's definitely helpful to either email back and forth or chat on Facebook or something. Whether you have a roommate that you request or you have someone you've never met before, because then you can kind of coordinate. If two people are going to bring a giant TV, that might be a bit of an issue. So you can, coordinate who's going to bring what to the room and just learn a bit about each other before you are living together. It kind of helps ease that nervousness a little bit.
So if you are nervous about moving away from home, what are some tips about how to deal with that and how to get over that nervousness?
I would say when you first move up here, it's really helpful to Skype with your family or talk with your family, because that kind of helps ease you into the whole moving process, because you're up here, but it's not like you're abandoned. Your family is always going to be, wherever they're living, they're always going to be there to help you out. And plus you meet so many people up here that, you get a second family when you're up at Tech, and you kind of all get pretty close and help each other out too. So it kind of is just a bit of a natural process. You kind of talk, keep in touch with your family as much as you can, and eventually you get pretty used to it.
Mm-hmm. I think my number one tip is just don't be nervous. Like it seems really bad when you're going off to college, but I mean, thousands of people do it every single year, and it's not too much. You just you kind of psych yourself out thinking it's gonna be this new scary thing, but it's really not that bad. And orientation week, and they'll help you adjust to college life really easily. Mm-hmm. So it's not as bad coming up here. And then I think that's another important thing, keeping in contact with your family and friends. over Skype or like Google Plus is what I used, and then we could all kind of video chat each other. So that was just a nice way to stay in touch with friends. Then another kind of cool thing that at least kind of kept me happy during the school year was sending letters to all my friends. You know, when they were off to college, it was kind of fun to just have that snail mail, and then it's like, oh, I got a letter in my mailbox. So it's just something else that's kind of nice to look forward to. So I definitely recommend just kind of doing letters for fun.
And I think social media has definitely helped as well. So having Facebook or Twitter or whatever you might use, I think it's a nice way to stay in touch with some of your friends too that hasn't always been around. So you guys are pretty lucky that way. We have a question about books. So how do you get your books and how does that work?
Well, before classes start, the bookstore puts out a list of books that you'll need for every given class that you're signed up for. So you log in and you just, you say, oh, I'm in this class, and it tells you what book you need for that. At the bookstore, they have every book you're going to need available to you. So it's really convenient that, you don't have to ask them to order some obscure book because they already know all of the ones that you're going to need there.
Right, and then at the bookstore, you can either order your books online, and then you can just come right into the bookstore, first week of school, and just get all your books right there. Or you can just print off your schedule, hand it to one of the workers, and then they'll actually go out and find every single textbook you need. So that's a really nice service to have if you're not sure what textbook you need. And then also, like if a class says that they need a book, then the bookstore is kind of required to have that book, so they're always going to have the books for all your classes right at the campus bookstore.
Yeah.
And if you have more questions, keep them coming. So I know we've got a few going on here, but if you do have more questions, we'll get to them in a second, but keep it up. All right, so we have prerequisites. The question is about prerequisites the first semester for computer engineering. And can you go for a course other than in your major? Okay, so with engineering, how we schedule here at Michigan Tech, typically you're placed into an English class, a math class, a science class, and an engineering class. And you do have some flexibility if you would like to add another course to that. If you come in with any AP classes or any college credit, that might give you some flexibility as well. You're going to have some time to meet with your advisor during orientation and to go over your class schedule. If you're thinking about changing majors or something like that, or maybe thinking about minoring in a different area, that's something you can talk with your advisor as well. So we do have plateau tuition here at Michigan Tech, and that's actually new to us this year. So the nice thing about that is anything that you take between 12 and 18 credit hours is at one standard tuition rate. So it gives you some more, for undergraduates, so it gives you some more flexibility as an undergrad to maybe explore a history class that you wouldn't otherwise have taken as a computer engineer, or being able to explore maybe a music class, or possibly even pick up a business class or something like that. So definitely take advantage of that. So, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of things are good to bring to live on campus? So besides clothing, what are some of the things that you would want to have in your room? And what should you leave at home? I like that question too.
Oh, that's a good question.
Definitely medicine, like cold and flu medicine. Especially in college, you're just getting a bunch of kids together and they're all kind of germy. So bring lots of medicine, and then just like hand sanitizer, stuff like that. It's kind of a little thing that's good to bring up.
As far as stuff to leave at home, you don't really need any cooking stuff. You might want like a cup and a bowl, but just one in case, you want to make yourself some iced tea someday in your room. But if you're going to want to cook anything, in all of the residence halls, there's the kitchenettes, and a lot of people make ramen noodles or something on the weekend just because. And you can check out all of those items at the residence hall front desk. So at the reception desk, they have cookie pans, cake pans, mixing bowls, anything you could need to cook or bake. You can just check out for free for 24 hours there. So that sort of stuff you wouldn't need to bring with you.
And then something else nice to have in your room is just a printer. Just because it's like nice, really convenient, close to your room. I mean, there's printing all over campus and it's all free for students, so you don't necessarily need a printer. but it's just nice to have. And then also just like a laptop or a computer like that, you're not required to buy one or bring one in your first year, so you don't really even need one at all because there's just so many computer labs everywhere. But I just had a computer just kind of for fun, checking email all the time. That's just something else to have in your room.
I also thought in college that having a robe was handy too if you didn't have like one of the suite styles or if you're not in one of the apartment style rooms. And because if you have the community bathroom going back and forth, it's nice to have a robe, and that was something I didn't think of until like day one when I realized I need one. So.
Right, a robe and flip-flops for the shower, or just like shower shoes.
And a caddy to carry all of shampoo and everything in, so you're not trying to balance it all as you walk down the hallway.
Anything else that you guys can think of?
I can't think of any right now.
If you think of anything else, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time that you got a book that you didn't use in class? You probably should have. It's truly.
Right.
I think part of that probably goes back to the fact that the professors really do expect you to do the reading independently. And so you're going to have a syllabus, and it's going to tell you what you need to read and when you need to read it, and you really do need to follow that. And so even if they're not prompting you to read this, that, or the other thing, for your exams, that's definitely when you're going to wish you had read the material.
Because the textbook, like you may not use it like sitting down reading it in class, but it's out of class where they have those readings assigned, or it's just like a really good resource to study for tests that you have upcoming. So yeah, some of the textbooks you may not use, learning in class directly out of the book, but they're definitely a good resource for outside of the classroom.
Yeah, and a lot of them will have homework problems out of them too. Like the engineering fundamentals textbooks, you're always using those for assignments, and same with calculus and physics. A lot of the homework problems are out of there, and that's a really good way to do practice problems too. So that even if your professor doesn't assign homework problems from those books, it's really nice to go to the end of chapter questions and do those problems, because then you're getting extra practice, and then usually most of the answers are in the back, so you can check to see if you're doing things right.
We had a question about class schedules, and we are just getting the AP credit in this past week, so we want to double check and make sure that any of you that are receiving AP credit, that we have you slotted in the correct classes. So those should be coming out in the next few weeks, so check the mail. So you should have those shortly. What are the names of some of the local banks here? And there's a full list on the admission website, so if you check that out, Joyce, it really will be the best place. You can maybe see if there's a bank that is in your hometown as well as here, so it's easy access regardless. But we do have quite a few banks in town, so there's a lot of options as far as that is concerned. But that's a really great question. Let's see, what else do we have here? What's your favorite thing about Michigan Tech?
Well, I can never narrow it down to a single thing, but one of the things that I really like is how everyone on campus just, I don't know, they seem really connected. Like, we have a real community up here, because I'll be in the Twin Cities, so some big place, and if you see someone else with a Tech t-shirt on, you're like, hey, Tech, even if you've never seen them before in your life. It's, there's just kind of a bond between everyone who comes here, and you can be on campus and maybe you meet someone in the elevator, you can just have a conversation with them. I really like that everyone is really friendly, and it's just nice.
Yeah, that's nice. And like Tech students, a lot of the kids from downstate Michigan, they have really long drives. Like my drive's like 7.5 to 8 hours, and that's almost like a short drive for kids up here. So kids aren't going home every weekend, which means we are really close, staying here on the weekends, and then they have so much going on during the weekends. Like they turned one of our lecture halls into a movie theater, and they have really cheap kind of new movies to watch. That's a lot of fun. So I definitely like the closeness of campus. But then something else that I kind of took for granted up here, I guess, a little bit, is that it's just so safe. Like me personally, I feel fine walking around late at night from a lab or something, and the campus is just so small, so everything's nice and close. So like some of my friends at state schools, it's like they would never be outside at night by themselves, and it's like, oh, but it's just, the whole area up here is just really nice, and I really like that about up here.
I've never, had any issue middle of the night walking around campus. Like if I forget to print off a paper or something, I'll run opposite side of campus and it feels just fine. Another thing I remembered that I really, really like is being able to go all the places outdoors. I'm really into paddling and hiking and skiing and everything. So being able to drive 3 minutes to Mount Ripley in the wintertime, being able to go half an hour and hike around waterfalls in the summertime. There's so much to do out here outdoors that I really love.
How about cell phone providers? So are there any that you recommend or don't recommend?
Verizon, and I know Verizon works really well up here, AT&T too.
Yeah.
I think it's Sprint that doesn't work up here. So there's a couple like the smaller ones won't work as well.
Yeah. I think AT&T and Verizon definitely have the best coverage. I have AT&T and it's
I
not
have
really been an
Verizon.
ise at all. So.
And they have 4G LTE for your savings, so.
So I know that we probably have some other providers that work too, but those are both the ones that I have as well. So storage for sports equipment, like skis or ice hockey equipment, like how does that work here?
There is a storage room for every residence hall that you can have one box of things in usually, if there's enough space. For bikes in the wintertime, you can put your bikes, everyone can put their bikes in the storage room so they're not getting snowed on. But other than that, I think
most of the storage is in
yeah,
the room.
Yeah, most of it is.
There are some small lockers available, if possible, if they're available up at their sports complex, the SDC. So you would just need to contact the sports complex about possibly doing that. You also can rent lockers up at the ski hill too, so that would be another option besides just having it at your room. Vacuums, are there vacuums for use in the halls?
Yeah, at the reception desk in all 3 of the residence halls, there's vacuums available, and that goes along with the cooking equipment. They also have games, Twister and Monopoly, a sewing machine, tools. At the reception desk, they have pretty much any odd item that you might need. They'll help you out. It's really handy, and you can check those all out for free.
So internet, so are Ethernet cables in the dorms, or how is it to get a hard connection as opposed to Wi-Fi? Do you guys want to talk about how the internet works here?
We have Wi-Fi throughout campus, including the residence halls. There are also Ethernet ports in all of the residence hall rooms. You're going to need your own Ethernet cord, though. So there's 2 ports in every room, so each roommate could have their own hooked up if you wanted. I always just relied on the Wi-Fi, and it works just fine. But.
I had an Ethernet cable. It was just didn't really use it all the time. I didn't feel that much of difference between the Ethernet and the Wi-Fi. But then they do have like an open Wi-Fi and then 2 secure Wi-Fis that you have to actually use like your tech ID to log into those.
Can you talk a little bit about how your classes are structured as far as like exams and how much homework you have, or what you're doing as far as labs and what the exams are like? So kind of like an overview of how the classes go.
Yeah.
That's a lot. We'll try and hit it the best we can.
Yeah. So every class is a little bit different, but I would say generally you're going to have about 3 hours of lecture for a class in a week. Like you'll have an hour Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is typically lecture days. And that is, usually a professor up front with a PowerPoint, and a lot of times they'll put their slides online, so if you print those off beforehand, you don't have to be scribbling notes. But then exams, there's the final exams at the end of the semester, and then usually 3 others before that. That's been my typical experience. It varies a lot by professor. But those exams will either be 1 hour in-class exams or they'll be evening exams. So usually, it's really hard to generalize.
It's going to vary a little bit from class to class. The nice thing is you're going to get the syllabus at the beginning of the school year. And so it's a great way to sit down and plan what that's going to look like, when your exams are going to be due, when your big papers are going to be due, so that you don't have to study for them all at once. You can kind of plan ahead and plan time to study or write those papers or do the research or whatever you need to do. Also, if you're writing a paper for a professor that you've never written a paper for, or you're working on a project and you want someone to look over it, our learning centers are a great place to go for that. So, most of these are staffed by upper class students or grad level students who maybe have had these professors before, know what they're looking for. They can help you study for that exam, and they can give you some inside tips about what could be there and what questions that are probably going to be on it, and give you some insight, especially for your first set of exams when you're not quite sure what to expect. So that's definitely a place that I would recommend that you check out early and often.
And as far as labs go, since you mentioned that as well, usually labs are once to twice a week, and they're longer sessions, so sometimes a couple hours at a time. And in those, particularly in the first year classes like physics or chemistry, you get in them and they're usually about 20 other students in your section, so it's this nice small section. You have a couple TAs there who are really helpful if you have questions, and then you usually have one or two other lab partners that you're working with. So it's a really small group setting where you're getting a lot of hands-on work on the stuff that you've been doing theory on in lectures. So I always really liked labs because that's where I really got a hard understanding of how all these concepts tied together.
Okay, our next question is, what do you do with your bikes during winter?
So the bikes for winter, they have those storage in the residence halls in each of them, so you just bring your bike down there. Then a lot of kids will store it that way. And I think there's even bike lockers around on campus that you can have during the winter, or just like storing in your room. That's always an option.
Now, the next question we had, did you guys have part-time jobs your first year?
I did. Yeah.
How did you feel about, because the question is do you recommend getting a part-time job your first year? So was it hard to adjust? How many hours did you work?
I worked very few hours. My first semester was only about 10 hours a week, so it really was hardly any time at all. As far as recommendation, it's really, personal preference. If you want a little extra spending money, it's kind of a nice way to be like, oh, well, if I want to go out to eat with friends, I can use it, use this money for that, or sometimes, gas money for going home. I didn't find it very difficult to balance because it wasn't very many hours a week, but if you start getting, above 20 hours or something like that, it might get a little more hefty. So I would say, you're going to know your study habits best. If you're the kind of person who, feels really frantic about, getting everything scheduled, or if you like to put off your homework a lot, or you're going to use work as an excuse to put it off, then, maybe it's not the best for you. But if you're the kind of person who can handle that,
Right.
It's kind of everyone's personal.
Because my job was just kind of like a tutor, so it wasn't really as much of like a part-time job. So I only worked like 4 hours a week or something. But definitely, if a job is, keeping you from doing your homework or something, then that's probably a time that you should realize, like, oh, I shouldn't have this job.
We only have a few minutes left, I think about 6 or 7 minutes. So if you do have additional questions, make sure to get them up here so we can answer them in enough time. So our next question is, how much time do you guys spend studying?
What's the general rule is 3 hours studying for every hour
there's some
lecture?
number like
I would
that.
say for me, it obviously varies widely by class. For a lot of my math classes, which are more difficult, so calculus 2 and 3, I would spend maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours on them on a given night, and that would include doing the assignment, because I kind of wrapped homework in with studying usually.
Right, yeah. Definitely, I didn't always keep track of my hours. And, like, classes I felt I didn't need to be studying a lot for, I didn't spend my time studying for them. I studied for only the really harder classes. Definitely, I would spend like an hour or two on like math or physics homework assignments. But then kind of the week up before my exams, I would go to the library and then spend like, 3 hours or so just sitting in there kind of reading over the textbook, making note cards. I was a big fan of those. Leading up like the week before the test is when I would actually really study a lot.
Yeah.
And before I get into the next question, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I hope we're getting the answers that you're looking for as far as these questions are concerned. We're running low on questions, so if no one has any other questions, we might wrap up a few minutes early. So if you have something else, let us know. Is there a place for students to rent outdoor equipment? I'm guessing you're thinking like kayaks and canoes and backpacking equipment, sports equipment. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. The Outdoor Adventure Program, or OAP, they're in charge of all of that stuff. It's a great resource. You can rent everything you just listed there. So kayaks, canoes, tents, sleeping bags, lanterns, camping, cooking gear, anything you need to go outside and have fun, you can rent it from the Outdoor Adventure Program, and it's really, really cheap. It's usually only a couple dollars. I've used them a couple times, and it's really helpful.
And as part of your Experience Tech fee as well, you also get one free snowshoe rental. So definitely make sure to take advantage of that if you've never snowshoed before. If you have, there you go. Your first time's on us. So as part of the Experience Tech part. So you want to talk maybe about some of the trips that OAP puts on? That's our Outdoor Adventure Program.
Yeah, so OAP does trips that sometimes they go up around in the Keweenaw area, and then during winter break and spring break they also go on longer trips where they, kind of do some adventure programs.
Yeah, I know they've been like mountain biking down in Utah. They were like canoeing down in Arkansas, so they kind of go all over for the spring break trips. Definitely are really popular. But yeah, then they hold kind of just smaller trips all the time. They'll go biking, like mountain biking out in the area, or kayaking on the Portage. I've done that with them, and those are all really super cheap trips, definitely for students.
And one of the questions was actually about the trips during orientation, and definitely that's a great time to not only meet a few of your incoming students, but to really experience what the Keweenaw has to offer. So definitely if you're thinking about it, do it. It's worthwhile, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So what do you think about the library here as well? That's the next question we have.
I use the library a lot. I love it. It's air conditioned in the summertime too, which is nice. But they have like these separate study rooms that you can check out, which are really, really nice around exam time especially. And they're little rooms that are closed off from the rest of the library, so if you want to be alone or if you want to be with a small group, you can study classes in there, and you got whiteboards. And then obviously all of the resources in there, all of the books and the archives, and they have banks of computers and everything. I love the library.
Right. I mean, they have a ton of like actual book for references, but then like online databases. They have like a huge catalog online too. Then something that's cool in the library on the 3rd floor, it's a silent dedicated studying floor. So there's actually individual booths you can go into and then just study there for however long you want to. That's a really nice resource. And then something else that's cool in the library is they do have a Starbucks in there. And I think it's the only one within like 2 hours driving distance. So if you're addicted to Starbucks, you can still get it up here.
OAP does, they actually rent skis and snowboards at our ski hills, so if you don't have equipment or have never done it before, you definitely can do that. So that was one of the questions we had come up as well. City transportation in Houghton to the campus stores. We do have a bus service here in town that will take you out to the Walmart and the JCPenney's and the grocery stores and things like that. So there is public transportation here too. So used textbooks. There are used textbooks. Yeah.
Yep.
Did any of you guys get some of the used ones here?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's a good option for saving a little bit of money. So in the bookstore they offer the new or the used textbooks. I've gotten a lot of the used ones, and they're nice condition. So
Right, and then you can even rent out like your textbooks just for a semester or however long you need it from the bookstore too.
yeah.
The Experience Tech fee and how that works here on campus is our next question. So it's called Experience Tech, and what that covers is your use of the sports complex, so our sports development complex. So if you want to go work out in our weight room or use any of the facilities there, the pool, they've got swimming. What are your favorite things to do with Experience Tech?
I use the free lift tickets at Mont Ripley a lot, as well as it covering all of the intramural sports that you want to do, so you get to do all of those free, and the rifle range and the archery range too.
Right.
Those are some of my favorites.
Okay, you also, this is our last question we're going to answer as well because we're going to have to wrap up in our time. You also can do the tennis center, the golf course, you can golf at our golf course. Theater performances and music performances are also included. Any of our Division II sports you can attend at no cost, and there are home hockey tickets for each of our Division I games. And those there's a limited amount of those tickets, so you do need to go ahead of time when those go. Each week they release those, so you do need to go and pick up a ticket. And if you, for whatever reason, don't get the free ticket, they're pretty cheap, so it's not bad as well. So unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up in essence of time. If you do have additional questions, please feel free to email us at mtu4u. And we would really be able to maybe elaborate on some things, or if you have additional questions, your regional admissions manager can also help you out too. So just give us a call. We can't wait till you get here to campus, right? So thank you so much and have a great day.